Are you ready to crack the code on an astrological cheat sheet to an expanded reality, filled with greater joy, freedom, love, and bliss? The full moon in Aquarius chart is our first cosmic guide as we gear up to integrate Pluto's game-changing 20-year transit in Aquarius. It's time to grab your notebook, tap into your heart, mind, and intuition, because solving our collective challenges is no longer just about logic. This energy is setting the stage for the great unraveling of old imbalances, beliefs, and philosophies about life, and paving the way for a more enjoyable, loving, and community-based expanded reality. So join me as we decode this chart and get a head start now on how we participate in creating the visionary future that we've all been waiting for. Okay, so I'm a few days late on this episode because I was away visiting family. But the chart we're going to look at from last week's full moon is so overflowing with important long-term guidance that it's totally worth looking at and decoding together, and frankly, it would have been a disservice not to. I promise this episode of Crack the Code will be worth the wait. So first off, why is this chart so important? Isn't it already in the past? I mean, we're already in Virgo season. Well, those are all great questions. Let me explain. The full moon we experienced on August 19th had a few distinct features to it. First, it was a full moon Aquarius. Now, from my own experiences, as well as from reading a lot of charts over the past few weeks, there have been so many common themes from this full moon that play directly into the instructions that will help us integrate into the Pluto and Aquarius time frame. So this chart is a cheat sheet of sorts that will give us initial direction to the energy that comes in at the end of the year and takes us through the next 20 years. Now, if you've been watching my content or have had a reading with me, you know why Pluto in Aquarius is an extremely important transit. Pluto is always important, but moving into a new sign is the literal dawning of a new era. Pluto is a portal giving us direction on the next major theme of our collective healing and rebirth. That's not a small transition. And furthermore, the energy behind this transit is completely different than the Pluto and Capricorn energy. So how we act, build, and change the world through this transit will definitely take some time to integrate. And it feels trippy as fuck. Anyway, so this full moon in Aquarius gave us a glimpse into what that energy is like. If anyone felt like this particular full moon, along with Mercury Retrograde, made things feel wild and trippy, if weird things happened and time felt wonky, everything seemed unpredictable, well, it was all right on time. This energy had like a mandala effect quality to it. Like it felt like things were changing, entering and disappearing from our realities in real time while we were conscious of it. Wild time to be alive. In addition to the Pluto and Aquarius preview, as the last full moon before the first eclipse, this full moon is opening up the energy of eclipse season, which starts on September 17th. More on eclipses when we get near to it, but eclipses are known as the bringer of change, swiftly making changes to our lives we often didn't see coming, with the ultimate purpose of getting us back on track of our collective lessons as well as our individual nodal paths. As a sidebar, analyzing the nodes has become one of my favorite parts of reading charts. If you aren't familiar with the path of the nodes in your own chart, I really recommend booking a reading. The opposition and balance can be so indicative of the specific evolutionary journey your soul is here to take on this earth right now. Depending on all the aspects of your chart, I really feel that all this direction that we get is meant to nudge us and keep us ultimately aligned with the mission of our North Node as our North Star, supported by the mastery that we come into this life with through the South Node. If you want to learn more about this, comment below this video and I'm happy to do an episode on it. And specifically, if you're curious around the purpose journey of your specific lifetime and beyond, or feeling particularly confused on certain decisions or the energy around lacking clarity, my books are open. Definitely DM me to book a session and we can dive right into that in your specific chart. Anyway, I think the fact that this moon is opening up the season of transition gives us some tiny clues as to what to expect in this energy. Now, I know that's kind of contradictory in nature. The purpose of the season of change and the way that it works is purposefully unpredictable. Because if we were able to predict everything, then we wouldn't be shaken up in a way that causes us to change. The reason eclipse, Uranus, and energies like this can be jarring is for the exact purpose of awareness and change. Now, as Pluto takes its last dip into Aquarius soon, this energy, current retrograde energy, as well as eclipse energy, will make it really clear what can't come with us into the future and what needs to be let go of. If you've been facing what needs to be faced, doing the work, not hiding from it, then what you're shown in this pocket might be interesting and thought-provoking, but maybe won't be quite as unnerving. However, if you're still insisting on ignoring certain aspects of your life that aren't working, especially as they pertain to the goals of your nodal axis and the collective healing that we're all taking part in through our lived experiences, well, you're probably going to feel a little shook. But that's why our charts are here. Not to predict superficial experiences like when you're going to get married or what sign not to date. It's here for the greater purpose of keeping you on your highest evolutionary path. Because in oneness and unity consciousness, we need you. Your unique experience and healing energy is part of the collective healing. We literally cannot do it without you. So the more we can align ourselves, our decisions, and our consciousness with the path that actively works on the specific themes and issues we are here to tackle, the more we all benefit and grow as a society and as humanity. How simultaneously humbling and freaking amazing and empowering. Okay, so back to the chart, and the third reason this full moon energy contains long-lasting cheat sheet info on how to manage this transitional energy. The main feature of this chart are T-squares. If you remember from other episodes, a T-square occurs when you have an opposition, the energy of two different themes and opposing forces that indicate a balance is required. T-squares help us use the energy of one placement to solve the challenges of an opposite placement, and they symbiotically play off of each other constantly. With a T-square, the energy used to balance the opposition squares into a third planet, essentially illuminating and also putting pressure on the energy of that placement. This can feel intense and at times complex, so it's important to understand the release point of a T-square is found in the opposition to that third planet that's being squared. In the case of this chart, we have two notable T-squares. The first involves the full moon directly. Although it's moved on from this placement by the time you're watching this, the specific message of this T-square is literally our first piece of instruction on how to navigate the energy of the transition to Pluto in Aquarius. So let's start with our full moon at 25 degrees Aquarius. So we already kind of discussed the energy of this being aligned to the energy of Pluto in Aquarius. As a cheat sheet to the Aquarius energy, it highlights community, non-attachment, future-forward vision. Ruled by Uranus, it's definitely an energy that swoops in with unexpected situations and opportunities that cause you to look at a situation in a new, unexplored way. Think winds of change kind of energy. The actual full moon was at the Neptune degree, so there's a subtext of healing around spirituality and transcendence. Now remember, a full moon is essentially a release point itself. It's where we let go of anything blocking our growth, healing, transcendence, and in this case, around attachments, community, and basically anything blocking your ability to be a future-forward visionary. Release around things that keep you in fear patterns and heavily tied into reliance on known and safe experiences is coming through, because its goal is to clear us out and switch us around to be willing and able to gracefully slide into the hope and possibility that lives in the unknown. This is trippy quantum reality type energy. Additionally, and this is where the basic instruction begins to come through, the moon is in an air sign. Air is about communication, information, and understanding. This moon is offering a clue about rethinking the way that we process information. The moon itself offers insight into our emotional realm and connects us with our intuition. Now pause on that. but hold on to it in the back of your mind because it's important, and I'll loop back to its relevance in just a moment. So now in opposition to the moon, we have what's pretty close to a cazimi. Technically, a cazimi is a fancy name for a conjunction between a planet and the sun to the exact degree. So already we see that these T-squares now contain energetic instructions from 4 luminaries rather than 3, along with a release point that's not visible on the standard chart. So the conjunction here is Sun at 27 and Mercury retrograde at 26 conjunct in Leo. By the time you watch this, the Sun is already into Virgo season, but since it's conjunct to Mercury retrograde, this message will withstand time and isn't as fleeting as the placement of the Sun, because Mercury retrograde is going to move backwards through Leo and then again forwards through Leo once it's out of retrograde. Sun is about our identity and authenticity, about who we are. In Leo, there's a fire of heart-based energy. Joy, laughter, play, inner child, the energies of our heart space shine through during Leo season. There's a courage and bravery to fight for our inner child and our hearts. Our individuality becomes important. This can get confused as ego, and often does, but its nature is truly meant as a means to showcase the authentic expression of our hearts. It's at 27, which nets to the Mars degree. So there's drive and motivation to build structure on behalf of our hearts, and on behalf of enjoying the human experience more, on behalf of love. Now, conjuncting that energy, we have Mercury retrograde at 26 Leo. So Mercury is an information, understanding, and communications ruler. As we know, when Mercury retrogrades, we experience challenges in those areas. Information becomes more wild, communication is strained or all mixed up, and misunderstandings run rampant. Mercury is electric charge energy as well, and the retrograde can often result in electronics, which essentially also rely on the qualities of communication via energetic frequency. Anyway, they seem wacky and off. Mercury retrograde can sometimes have similar shocking Uranian effects to it, just more so in the areas specifically ruled by Mercury. So in Leo, this can be miscommunications around heart-centered empowerment. I feel it strongly here as self-expression gone awry, especially falling into ego-driven patterns rather than heart-based ones. Mostly, a Mercury retrograde isn't meant to mess things up, but rather show you patterns that are up for review so that you can actually move forward from them and release them. That's the real energy a Mercury retrograde wants to show us. So while I can dig into the nuances of this all day long, I'll keep it focused and straightforward because, well, it's lunchtime over here and the sun came out and we're going to head to the pool. And anyway, Leo energy is joy, laughter, creativity. With Mercury retrograde here in Leo, where it will continue to move for another week and then move forward for another week, we're being asked to revisit if our understanding, thoughts, and communications truly come from our hearts and from joy. We have an actual real problem in this world and in humanity and the collective itself. People have literally forgotten about joy. They've become slaves to ego, to money. We are in times where people are working so much to live that they actually aren't living at all. This isn't why we're here right now. This is part of the imbalance we are tasked at healing and meant to grow out of. This is why the younger, nobody wants to work generation are already intuitively born with knowing this. It's the older generations that really need more schooling on remembering our joy. There are so many souls out there who don't even know or remember what childlike joy looks or feels like, and that's just not okay. So this energy wants us to look at that, and we can't avoid it. Neptune's degree is showing us the potential for healing that comes through facing the parts of our lives that are not driven by heart-led fire. Okay, so in current reality, maybe we can't all immediately transition into making a living through the action driven by the joy in our hearts. And yes, where we are today requires us to have income. Not every path needs alignment between work and heart at this very moment, but it's absolutely not okay how deprioritized it has become. It will take us one by one becoming conscious of this imbalance in order to choose differently and heal it collectively. So take that and conjunct it with the sun energy. This is a powerful message about identifying and taking action around your authentic heart-centered joy. Even after the Cazimi has moved on, Mercury will continue to retrograde through Leo, then station and have to move forward again over these same spots. That tells us that this issue around finding the fire of our hearts is a big one. So big that it needs to be expanded by the sun. So big that we have to look at it a few times over. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason it's Mercury specifically. Now remember how I said earlier that Moon in Aquarius is about the intertwining of our intuitive nature and capabilities with future forward visionary thinking? Well, the conjunction of Sun and Mercury in a fire sign is a directive to listen to the fire of our hearts. So put those energies in opposition. Sun and Mercury literally blazing with heart-centered joy. Moon, intuition, and an air sign that represents future forward thinking. The way to move forward is through filtering information from and through our conscious minds, intertwined with our inner knowing and intuition, and our hearts. Our brains are just one tool we use to process information, and it's the one we understand and use the heaviest as humans. But we were gifted hearts that are able to connect with unity consciousness and oneness in a vastly different way. And we have intuition, which filters from our bodies before our minds are even aware or involved in that process. A few weeks ago, I showed this chart on the 3 brains. I think this continues to clarify that concept and really land it even more. I think the real first step to integrating the energy of Pluto in Aquarius is to make sure we are using all 3 of these centers as equal sources and filters to discern information. So there is some tension in this because it's an opposition, which squares into Uranus 27 Taurus, which creates the T-square aspect. As we fumble through the experimental stages of incorporating our intuition and hearts more in our decision-making processes, Uranus and Taurus is here to sort of taser train us, because not only are we tasked with managing heart, mind, intuition, but we also need to stay aligned with quality of life, peace, harmony, and balance. While this can sound like a lot of work, I think that having that grounding influence of Venus in Taurus energy is meant to keep us aligned with the bigger vision of what we're trying to create for humanity, and ensure we don't get stuck in ego and self-fulfilling ventures at the expense or detachment from community. Because the rising tide of this energy is meant to lift all ships and not just you. With so much Leo involvement here, along with messy experimentation, it can be real easy to get caught up in what we believe and venturing off on side quests that fulfill an idealized version of what we want, but misses the mark on truly being intuitively heart-led. Uranus in Taurus simply does not have time for your bullshit, and it will shock and remind you with unexpected situations and opportunities every time you fall off track. At the Mars degree also, it wants you to take action and build new structure based on feminine qualities. Remember, there's an overall goal here, transforming quality of life for all of humanity. It begins with you, but it's for the benefit of the collective. Now imagine if everybody woke up tomorrow with a perfectly clear vision of what brought them joy. Do you think capitalism, government, and religion would still reign supreme? Do you think 75% of people would get up and go to work if they were driven by their hearts, humanitarianism, rather than ingrained survival fears? That's actually what this energy on a much more subtle level is here to teach us. We have a problem. We are too far apart from each other. Our society prioritizes toxic, wounded, masculine ideologies around ego, survival, and hoarding of resources. This new energy coming in of Pluto in Aquarius is here to shake us out of that, and it's not going to do it gently. So as I mentioned earlier, the release point of this T-square comes through the opposition to Uranus 27 Taurus, which puts us at 27 Scorpio. Now sidebar, because this kind of both blew my mind and humbled me simultaneously. I pulled this chart because it's the full moon chart, but when I looked at that placement of Uranus, everything felt oddly familiar. On my own chart, I happen to be exact in my Uranus opposed Uranus transit, also known as midlife crisis vibes. Fun. I'm a Scorpio rising at 11 degrees, so my chart is nearly identically mirrored to this one in terms of the placements of the signs and houses. The release point to the Uranus T-square in the collective chart is the exact placement of Uranus on my own chart at 27 Scorpio. That kind of gives me a unique understanding of this energy. while I'm here being guided to make a video in order to guide others. Like, whoa, synchronicity much? So anyway, the release point of 27 Scorpio. There's no planet here, so you can think of it as the energy to lean into when the tension of the T-square makes you feel like crazy cakes. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, so it's the same vibe. This is shadow work, rebirth energy. Scorpio energy gets a bad rap for being dark and sad and too deep for its own good sometimes. While yes, darkness is a part of it, the purpose is Pluto, rebirth. It's about seeing the real root of a problem and bringing light to it. If we don't bring the light to it, we stay stuck in its patterns of density. But the integration of light takes the weight off of it and allows us to make different conscious choices. That's what Scorpio and Pluto energy are here to do. It's an incredibly important part of our transcendence journey. And where do we find that light? Well, maybe we find it in the fire of our hearts. Now it's at the 27th degree, which nets to Mars, so action and structure oriented. I think what all of this is trying to say is that to get through the tension and confusion of experimentation involved in using your three brains to navigate humanity towards a greater quality of life, we have to be steadfast in taking action that clears out our shadows. We have to be willing to look at what's wrong and name it. And then we get to use our hearts and intuitions to bring it love. For many of us, it's not just about the collective atrocities. Our inner children are in there. We have to remember to bring them light. For them. For us. It's no longer just naming what's wrong and complaining about it. It's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? As individuals first, but with the overarching and underlying goals of collective healing. So now let's jump into a shorter analysis of the other prominent T-square in this chart, because I think it fortifies the overall message and really hammers in the longevity behind the instructions and guidance. So I was just mentioning we're tasked with more than just naming what's wrong. We're also being asked to do something about it. Now, I didn't come up with that entirely on my own. It came from the words of my astrology mentor, but not directly about 27 Scorpio. It came through her reading of Saturn in Pisces. To expand on that concept, Saturn is about responsibility, maturity, and accountability. The taskmaster of the zodiac is literally the strongest energy of keeping us aligned with our goals and true purpose here. Pisces, with its Neptunian properties, this is commitment to our healing. It's not about seeing something and complaining, it's about doing something about it. At 17 degrees, that's also the Neptune degree. Saturn be getting real serious about fixing the problems humanity have created for ourselves through 2,000 years of unconsciousness and being led by wounded masculine energies. And this is opposed our friend Venus at 17 Virgo. Venus in Virgo literally wants us to fix things and right these wrongs around feminine energy. Venus is about peace, harmony, flow, quality of life, and receiving the best that life has to offer. Take a look at our world. Are we receiving the best life we can as humans? I don't know if there's a human on Earth right now that would answer yes to that question and really mean it for all of humanity. And that's what Venus wants us to fix. As we heal ourselves, we heal each other, so this can manifest in so many different ways within our individual lives. And listen, not to double promote, but if you don't know where this is hitting in your chart, please book a session. There's a really heavy theme right now of balance between masculine and feminine. This is being led by the Pluto in Libra generation. This balance is crucial and integral to healing work we need to do to get humanity back to a place of heart-centered joy. So please hit me up, book a session. I would love to walk you through how your individual energy and life get to contribute to the collective healing. We need you. So Venus and Virgo at the Neptune degree. How can we be more present with this problem and fix it? How do we achieve more balance? When do peace and harmony get to be the priority? Opposed Saturn in Pisces, accountability for how we have lost touch with the nature of feminine healing energy. We have to face the fact that we design society with wounded masculine intention. It isn't designed to support everyone, or even promote peace, or allow masculine structure to create safety for feminine healing. But it's not showing us this so that we're mad and sad about it. It's showing us because we're tasked with fixing it. This energy is all about showing us what can't come with us and what has to be worked on to support our evolution. So that tension squares into our friend Jupiter still conjunct Mars in Gemini. My last episode was all about this energy. But in short, we have Mars, masculine energy, and Jupiter, expansion and transformation, linked up in the Mercury-ruled sign of information, communication, and understanding. So if anything, this is hammering in the idea of seeing information in new ways and actively using it to expand and create new beliefs and new worlds. What might be a new way of using information? Maybe filtering it through our hearts, intuition, and minds to see if it truly aligns for the highest quality of life that we want for ourselves and all of humanity? Does that sound future forward? Now, lastly, the release point for that T-square is approximately 18 Sagittarius. Sag is the sign of beliefs and philosophy and wisdom, ruled by Jupiter. So there's huge expansion potential on offer here. But we have to be willing to transform our beliefs and philosophies on balance, information, and how we obtain and use it. And ultimately, what we truly, in our heart of hearts, want for all humans. That is what this chart is asking of us. And that is going to be one of our biggest challenges as we move into Pluto in Aquarius. Because do you really, in your heart of hearts, want any other creature to truly suffer? Our hearts connect us through the collective consciousness and the quantum field. If we all tune deeply into our authentic heart space, we would find the same goals in there. If we combine the beats of every single heart, we would get a single solid tone of oneness. There's no human out there who, outside of their own suffering and trauma, truly wants to watch others suffer. That energy is perpetually driven by survival and trauma and not the authentic expression of our hearts. The worst of humanity has been driven by wounding, trauma, ego, and other goals, but not from the core of their authentic heart space, which is what we're trying to collectively correct. In the end, I think deep down we all want to be united, happy, and expressing our most authentic bliss and joy. But we just came out of a lot of unconscious energy, so we don't know how to get there yet. And that's what this energy, little by little, is trying to pave the way to show us. So let it flow, 'cause it won't stop. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope the information contained here resonated with you as much as it did with me. I hope it offered some guidance and some navigational depth for the current energy pocket we're in. Hopefully this series gives you a feel for how I read charts and how this information from your own chart could potentially help you identify and approach strengths and patterns within your own life. Interested in your own energy analysis and guidance session? Comment below, reach out directly via DM or email, or visit my site, sunmoonrisingshop.com, where you'll find my contact info, self-service written astrology energy analysis, fun astrology merch, and more. For daily content linking the astrology to aspects of grounded healing and real-life application, follow me on Instagram at sun.moon.rising.bliss. And for more energy guidance, readings, as well as guided meditations to help wire in these energies, like, comment on this video, and subscribe to this channel. Once again, sending out gratitude for any support you'd like to offer for alignment with my greater mission of service to others. Thanks for listening, believing in me, and having an open mind and heart. Much love, and let it flow, 'cause it won't stop.